journey through pregnancy. How old were you when you got pregnant?
Wow. Let's say I took in when I was close to 30.
Close to 13.
Yeah.
So within your first year of being married, you had gotten pregnant.
Yeah, because maybe some persons must have started putting ideas into his head, because I know one of the times that we got talking, he said, so many people think you're my kid sister, and then if we don't have to do this, you might have to run away someday. And I said, but you said I won't go anywhere. And like I said, when I took in, I didn't know. I never knew until one of the elderly women around my area noticed it, and then she called me and she like, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm not okay. I don't know. Sometimes I feel sicky, sometimes blah, blah, like that. And she started mentoring me.
So this entire time, I'm talking, let's say it's about a year, you're living with this man, he's having sexual interactions with you. Like you said, you didn't know how to take care of the home. Was there another female in the house that's older to show you how it was just the both of you?
No, just the both of us.
And you had to teach yourself.
Yes.
How
but
to.
Like I said, when I got in, this woman got into my life, she started nurturing me on what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. She became like a kind of mother to me. So in the mornings when she's free, she comes around and like, okay, Amaria, have you done this? I'm like, oh, I didn't know they have to do it. So, oh wow, okay, now let's do this way. Let's do this. Tidying up the house is a normal thing because that was what we were born to grow up. You know, I grew up with that. Yeah, my mom is a disciplinarian, so you have to do it. But the in thing about marriage is what I don't have the experience. So she will come and like, okay, let's do this. Now let's go to the market. Let's buy this. You have to do this. So when your husband comes, this is what you serve him with. This is how you address him. I'm like, then when she wants to go, I'll start crying. I'm like, don't go. She said, but this is not my house. But I don't have anybody to talk to, you know. And sometimes she just go and come back maybe much later in the evening, and it's okay. Can I go back now? I say, yeah, I don't know, but you can go. But will you come back tomorrow? She will say yes.
And that was a relationship your husband was okay with? Was he aware of the relationship you had with her?
Seeing her as an elderly person, he was aware. He was like okay with at the time, you know. And then, but after a while, he began to notice that, okay, I have to start talking to him alone. And he started having these skeptical feelings that you're married to a little girl, one day she will run away. So he started restricting my movements. So I can't go out without him. If he's not around, I'm always indoors. So I'm always like confined within my space, like that.
Was that a switch for you?
Wow, it was a switch for me, and a tough one at that.
Walk us through it.
Listen, I want to tell you, I assure you that I don't wish my enemy this.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't wish.
I mean, coming from a place where, what was the difference between your father's house, like being under your father, and being under your husband?
A whole lot of difference, because one, I live in an environment where we eat together, we play together, we gist together, we go to school together, we come back together, and then my father is very jovial. He comes back home, and then he tell us so many stories. You know, and with other persons living with us, his brothers, you know, his kid brothers, and because I have uncles, and then he will come back to like, today this is what so there was a whole lot of difference. Now, treated as the only child was not what I was experiencing there. No, like he calls me Gimbia. So when he comes and says, where's my Gimbia? I'm like, okay, did you get me any sandwich today? So, no. So a whole lot of difference. That homeliness wasn't there at all. It was not there.
I have so many questions. I don't want to move away from the experience itself for a moment, but the journey of being pregnant. I know that being pregnant, even at a grown age, you're fully ready, your body is ready, you're in your 20s. At any age, the journey of pregnancy takes a toll on. How many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
I don't know if it's okay to ask you but how many pregnancies did you go through? 4?
No, I went through 5. I lost 1.
You lost 1. Take us through the journey of being a child raising children.
Wow.
And still being married to a man that's about 4 times your age, because I'm sure you had to juggle all of that at the same time.
At one point in time, maybe during my second pregnancy, my elder sister had to come from my mother's side. She had to come. At this time, we moved to Jos, so she had to come and stay because I couldn't coordinate myself, the child, the crying child, and then the man and the home. So for me, it's like a whole world. I'm carrying the whole world on my head.
I'm guessing maybe by then you were 15.
Yes. So, and then I wasn't doing anything. All I do is to take care of the children, my daughter, and then the home front. I have to really meet up what I need to do to, like, he needs his food to be ready before he goes to work, and when he leaves, the food has to be ready before he comes back. So I have to shuttle. The life then is just like a triangular: the house, the children, the husband. So that was how I was living.
Did you have a sense of self? I've had conversations with people that have dealt with different degrees of abuse, and you'd hear something comes up all the time. You hear them say, I didn't have a sense of self. I didn't know if I was a person. It was like being on autopilot.
Of course, you will never have that. You won't have that. You are being remoted. You're roboted. You're a robot. Following directives.
This went on for how long?
Went on for like I think Georgina was a year, like for 15 to 18 years. 18 years.
18 years.
Yes.
And you were living in Kaduna?
No, we had to move to Ibadan from Jos.
Oh, okay. You were in Jos, then you moved to Ibadan.
Yes.
Give us a timeline of when this happened, because I'm sure some people are listening and they are like, in this time and age, like people see somebody with a child that he's married to and no one is, questioning or raising alarm.
Nobody will raise alarm, because when you reach out to people, they know what pains you're passing through. Looking at me from outside, you wouldn't know the challenges I'm passing through, except you come closer to me. So there's no room for me to get to the outside world to start discussing with people. So the church is my best friend. So once I am traumatized, I just go to the church, just to call off my head.
He allowed you go to church?
Because the church is always quiet, and then nobody talks to me there. So I go to the church. Sometimes I will have to go and come back before he comes back from work.
And in church, were you able to have any kind of relationships in church with other people?
Yes, like when we're in Jos, I joined the choir, which is okay, let me not just keep her indoors. Let her join the choir. And at one point in time, he joined the choir.
Because you were in the choir?
Because I was in the choir. So he can like monitor me and all of that. And there's this woman from, she's a beautiful woman. She just noticed, there are some persons that are elderly, they will just notice, they'll read your mind. And she was like, how old is your child? I'm like, oh, innocently, she's 2. And you have another one. I said, yes. And another one. I said, yes.
At the time you had 3.
Yes. I was like, okay. I like the way you sing. That is where she started her friendship from. And I said, oh, thank you very much. So where do you live? And I described, apparently we're just like neighbors.
Yes.
And then she said, okay. So one of the evenings, she just took a stroll, like, okay, let me just walk around. And unfortunately, she came during one of the wonderful days of beatings.
So you also went through...
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because, like a psychologist was analyzing at one point in time, he said, those beatings were coming up because he sees you as a kid, that the only way he can correct is to flog you. Not forgetting the fact that he doesn't know what you were doing. Because there were certain things I thought were correct, as in like a child. I was, and then instead of using the, okay, no, you're not supposed to do this, instead of the correction. So the correction comes with beating. And everything started from that beating aspect. And it started growing from first degree to second degree to now battering and all of that. So, and then Sister Grace was like, can I talk to the priest on your behalf? And I said, I don't know how he's going to feel. If you talk to the priest on my behalf, I hope I'm not signing my death warrant. Because right now, I have relations here, but I can go to them. He will always ask, what do you need them for? You have me. Your father said. Your father said. Your father said.
How was it like, sorry to cut you there, how was it like realizing that your father put you, because from what you said, you had a pretty good relationship with your dad, and your father was someone you loved, and he put you in that position where, you were going through so much suffering. What did it feel like when you thought about your dad?
There was a day I told him, I said, my father didn't see this coming. Because I remembered when he said that, my father told him that she is the apple of my eye. When you touch her, you touch me. And then he gave his word that I'm actually going to take care of her as you loved her. But after a while, and I said, so where did that comment go to? He said, I now realize that your father was blood spoiling you. He was just spoiling you, just like because you're the only child. He would just like give you anything you want. In my house, you don't do that because I'm not your father.
I want to take a quick breather here, pay some bills, and we're going to come back and we will discuss the journey out of that place. Because you dealt with this for 18 years, so that means there was a place that it came to an end. You're going to help us walk through that process when we return from the break. Stay with us.
The award-winning.
We are your Romeo.
Be our Juliet. Visit any of our branches today for a long-lasting memory.
Romeo's Pizza, the pizza champion USA. We quench your pizza taste. The secret is in our sauce. We are your Romeo.
Be our Juliet. Visit any of our branches today for a long-lasting memory.
Romeo's Pizza, the pizza champion USA. We quench your pizza taste. The secret is in our sauce.
She was married off at the age of 12. Where were you when you were 12? I think I was in just 2. When I was 2, I think, or just 3 safe, because I started school pretty early. We were the ones that hurried up to go to school, and I can only imagine at that age being in a 35 or 40-year-old man's house. A part of in my head is like, I can't survive this. I don't think it's something I can walk through. How did you survive that ordeal for 18 years? What kept you going?
What kept me going? God. The grace of God kept me going. Like I said, the church became my second home. So I go to church with my children and then stay there till about maybe when it's time for us to go back home for lunch. We just go back home for lunch. And I wouldn't want the night to come, because these are horrible moments for me. And when it's night, I'll pray for morning to come. Like, is there going to be a morning at all? So then when you find yourself in a situation whereby this man is not just a husband, but he's a drunk, an alcoholic.
Oh, he had that as well.
So you don't know what the next hour is going to be like. If he's coming back from the days he's not coming back from work early, you see that he is coming back very late drunk, and then when he comes back drunk, he reminds you where you're coming from. If not for me, you wouldn't have been here. I picked you up from the gutter. Your father has no say. You don't even have a mother to fight me. And then he reminds you of where you're coming from. You don't have anybody that can challenge me.
So there was emotional abuse.
Oh yeah, there's this always emotional trauma, mental torture, and the physical battering. You know, you have to run around the room and all of that. And I remember one of the nights that this our neighbor this Igbo woman, Mommy Ebuka, she had to like come, and herself and her husband had to force the door, break the door to like rescue me. And I said, you want to kill her? And he said, is that your business? She's my wife. And she took me to her room that night. So I had to sleep in her room like that. And the husband was like, you don't have people to run to? And I said, even if I go to my sister in Kaduna and I explain to her, I know how many times we've been to Kaduna settling these cases and all of that, and he will promise, okay, no, I'm not going to touch her again, and then give us reasons what she is doing so we can like correct her. It's not as if she has anybody controlling and that's mentoring her all through this, but what is exactly the point so we can like address it. And he wouldn't say, you can't really point
what it is.
Yes, this is actually the problem.
Now that you're out of it and you think back at it, do you see any reason why he got like that with you?
2 reasons I can point out here. 1, as a drunk. 2, he's from a background where they don't have love in their family. So he has a father that controls them. Because in one of the scenarios in Jaws, the father came around and the father was like, you married to my son? I said, yeah. And he said, okay. And you took him to church? And I said, yes. That's nothing wrong in taking him to church. We all go to church. And he said, have you ever noticed that I have 2 wives? And I said, yes, I know. Which means I don't go to church. And he's my first son. And I'm like, okay. And I was looking at him, and then he was talking and talking and talking. But the part that got me is I don't understand the deep language of my language, like, but the part that got me was that if you don't leave my son and go back to your parents' house, they will take you on the head. And I'm like, I don't understand. Papa, I don't understand. He said, if you don't walk with your foot, like moving
if you don't
on your
voluntarily
own,
leave,
you will leave by casket.
So your father-in-law threatened you to leave your husband's house. At this point, you were how old? You had how many kids?
Then I was already 20 with 4 kids.
So you had been married 8 years. It's
And
thinking about it.
When he came back, I told him, I said, this is what your dad said. He said, don't mind him. He's just saying it. That he's always been like that. You know, he's the reason why Dixon's wife had to leave. He's the reason why this one had to leave. So he wouldn't want us to do things on our own. And I said, okay, so that's the more reason why we have to keep praying. Because sometimes when you do certain things, these are quarrels that ordinarily should not spark up anything. But you just see out of nothing, there's always a big fight.
So was his attitude epileptic? Sometimes he's all right, and then other times he's just... Or was he just always that person you can't have conversations with?
Conversations, no, we don't. Conversations, no. It's always an order.
Get this done and get that done.
Get this done, get that done. And then when you're trying to be friendly, you're like, hey, keep your spoiled brat attitude there and all of that, you know. We're always like, you're not trained well.
He wasn't receptive to love. No,
there's no love. Hey, don't mention that. There's no love here.
Care.
No care. So he's like, okay, hey. So he's like, you're spoiled. I need to teach you. I need to tutor you.
Let's describe how you got out.
Now, when I was there, I had this low esteem, because that's always how he will bring me down. You can't do this. You can't. So, and at that time, I started summoning courage, because there's this popular word that when you're pushed to the wall, there's nothing you can do than to retaliate. So I started mustering this energy to like, well, what should I do? Now, if I run to my sister in Kaduna, they will always like, okay, let's do this. Okay, no, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. And then when we got to Ibadan, in the first place, he said, I should not work. I can work. I can go to school. I can do trade. I can trade.
At this point, what amount of education have you had? What level?
At this point, hey, primary school.
Primary school.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, and the next thing is when we got to Ibadan, it's like, all you have to do is to take my kids to school and bring them back home.
No church?
So the church, we have to go together and come back.
Mm-hmm.
The church, yeah, we have to go together and come back. So no other extracurricular church activities like.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, and I had this aunt in Jaji whose daughter was getting married. So she called his line. I don't have a phone. So they called the line and said, okay, the daughter is getting married and they would like me to be there. So when he got home, he said, one of your aunts called. I don't know who gave her my number, and she called and she said, the daughter is getting married and then you have to be there with your sisters and all of that. So, oh, wow, that's nice. That's my aunt. Her mother is my mom's elder sister, so she's the mom that we look at today. And I said, okay, if you have to go, then everybody in the house
has to go.
Yes. I'm like, okay, will you have time to go with your work? I said, yes, I'll take permission from my office. And we'll
Why
go
did you
together.
think he did that? Was it still fear of you running away,
Yes,
or was
yes,
it he
yes,
couldn't?
because he mentioned it. When the time got closer, he changed his mind and said, can I call your sister and send them money instead of going? The risk of plying the road is there. And I said, but I want to go. I've not seen my sisters for like 8 years now. I want to go home. I just want to see them. I'm going to come back. And then he said, okay, let's wait. Let's think about it. And I'm like, okay. So each day he comes back, there's always a phone call. Please make her come. So on this fateful day, he just came back and he said, I don't think you're going to travel.
After agreeing.
Yes, after agreeing. I don't think you're going to travel. So what I did was, one, I was already scared of beating. I don't want to talk. Because when you talk, you don't even know when the next laugh is going to come from. So what I did was I went on my knees and I prayed and I fasted. And I went to the chapel.
What were you praying for?
Most times, I am a broken person. I was a broken person then. So each time I go to the church, I actually don't do this. I talk to God just the way I'm talking to you, Chinwe. I'm like, I hope you don't, I'm not going to die here. But if you want me to die, please take me home and let me die. Yes, I break down most times when I talk to God.
So prayer was not for you a place where you're going to ask for something. It's more like you're going to unburden.
Yes. I find peace. Sometimes when I go there to church, I just sit and cry. Nothing more than that. I'll just sit and cry, and when you're tired of crying, you sleep. So when I sleep and I wake up, I'll just get refreshed. And then I start coming back up. So for me, the church was actually my companion, like I said before. And like after the 3 days fasting and prayer, he now came and said, okay, I'm not traveling with you again, but if you have to go with my children and come back immediately after the wedding. And I said, well, thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you. So on that particular morning, he didn't see us off. I went along with my kids and got to Kaduna, to Jaji, and of course after the wedding there's always a family meeting. So I became the topic
Of the meeting.
because I was an eyesore. So my sisters broke down when they saw me, and so many emotional talks and all of that, and like, okay, can you do us a favor? I said, what? He said, when you go back, you're going to go back. But when you go back, can you come home for Christmas? And I said, if he says yes, because if I leave this world now, I'm going to a world that I don't have a say. So if he says yes, sure, why not? I always want to be around you people. I'm happy now. I'm relaxed. Since I came, I've not eaten, but I'm just full. You know, so you could see the vibration that, like, I am happy. There's this radiance all over me and all of that. So when I got back home, it was like a different game altogether. So you come and tell me. The very day we came back, the following night, he just woke me up around 2 a.m. and he said, sit down, face me, look at me. And I said, so tell me exactly what you discussed with your sisters. And I said, okay, well, when I got there, they were happy to see me again. They saw my children and all of that. And they were like saying, can we spend Christmas together, like a family reunion in the village? And I said, oh, so they finally want to take you away from me. Now I'm going to pour you acid. Let me see the man that will come and marry you. And I said, no, they didn't say anything like that. And I knelt down. I said, I can swear. They didn't mention, they're not taking me away. And I said, look at, the normal insult and then the beating. And I started crying. So my children had to come wrapped around me. And so he left my room for his own room. And I said,
there was your room and his room.
Yes. And then he said, I'm going to call your sister in the morning. I said, yeah, go ahead and call. Just do as you want. Find out if I'm lying.
Why did they let you back there, considering they knew your ordeal? Why do you think
my elder sister, this is her thought. That, okay, if we don't allow her to go back, his guess is right. Like, okay, I know if you're going, you're not going to come back. And she wouldn't want to be the one to say, okay, I'm the one that took my sister from her husband's house. So they believe that, let's take it back home. Let us invite the elders into this matter.
So there was still would you say that there was still the shame of leaving your husband's house? There was your sisters were probably afraid of the reproach of saying they took you away from that situation.
My people believe that you have to suffer for the sake of your children in your husband's house. No matter what you're passing through, it's for the sake of the children.
So I have about 10 minutes to wrap up this conversation. And how did you leave?
Well, I left the night he gave me a beating of my life and then pushed me to the express for a car to run over my head.
He beat you outside?
Yes, I was coming back from a church program under a heavy rain, and the junction where we're living in Ibadan was like some minutes away from my house. So I had to wait for a bike. But because it rained heavily, there's no bike. So I was like walking down, and then if I move a little bit, I feel a tap at my back. And I'll stop. The person will stop. I move a little bit, the person will move. So on turning, the next thing I had was a land of a slap. And I fell to the ground. And then where he was beating a car, maybe the guy was drunk or something, I don't know. Then he now pushed me and ran away, thinking that car was going to run over my head. And then the guy now matched a very sharp break, and the guy came and whisked me out of the road and ran away. Now to him, he thought that car ran over my head. To him. So what I did was that I had to run to, there's this woman, this Igbo woman they call Mommy Chichi. I had to run to her. I said, Mommy Joanna, what is it? I said, I don't know, Daddy Jera wants to kill me. And then he came back and was like beating. Yeah.
He was still beating you.
So where the husband wanted to like hold him, like, what are you doing and all of that. Then the woman whisked me away to her house. And then that night she said, is there any way you can go to? Because I know he will look for you to this place. And I said, yes, I have a friend, a Reverend Sister friend, Sister
Oh, you
Felicia.
had made a Reverend Sister friend.
Yes, in the school, where the children go to school. Can we talk to her? She said, you have her number? I said, I don't have her number, but you can call the school line.
And they would connect.
Yes. So she called that school line, but there was no response. Then the following morning she called. Funny enough, it was Sister Felicia that picked. And then she explained, and Sister said, okay, can you bring her to the convent? And that was where I stayed for like some weeks.
With your children?
No.
Without?
Yeah.
They were with their father?
They were at home. And that was where I spent like 3 days, and Sister now communicated my people in Kaduna. And she said, okay. My sister was like, okay, what we'll do is that maybe you take her back so that we can come to Ibadan. Sister said, no. No. If that is the case, she will stay with me. I know how I can handle this. So she said, okay, apart from your sister, do you have any other? I said, yeah, the one that I attended her wedding in Jaji. So do you have her number? I said, let me flip through my diary, and I did. And we got her number, and she said, please send her to me in Abuja. Here. And I came, that year she was living to Australia with her husband. So I came, met with her, and we went to Lagos. And she said, okay, you know what, you're going to be here. Let me settle down in Australia and I'll get back to you. And that,
Without your children?
yeah, of course.
How long did you stay away from your kids before you went to get
I
them?
stayed almost, say, 5 years.
After you left, did you get therapy?
Of course, I had to.
How long were you in therapy for?
I was in therapy for 2 years because the trauma was much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say 8 or more.
No, but 2 years, I had a wonderful, I will never forget Dr. Ngozi. I will never forget
That was your
her.
therapist.
Yes.
When you think back now about your experiences, first off, he's still alive, your ex-husband.
Yeah.
The separation process, how did he take it? Was there an official returning of bride price?
Yes,
blah, blah, blah.
yes,
Did he take it?
Yes, he did. Gladly.
When you think back toward all of that, what do you feel?
Most times, if not now, most times when I think about it, I feel broken.
Now? How about now?
It will come up, but not as strong as
As it
before.
used to.
Yeah.
How long has it been now? How long has this been?
This has been since, let's say, 10 years now.
So you've been on your own 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I wish we had time for you to share with the listeners how your life took a turn around and how now you're doing pretty well for yourself and for your kids. What would you say to someone experiencing abuse, a lady seated out there somewhere that is dealing with emotional and physical abuse? I think they come hand in hand. I don't think you can have physical abuse without emotional abuse. And they are having that, and they are in that position. Or someone who has a family member that they know is experiencing that. What would you advise that they do so that they get better?
What I would advise is that the family should take that very serious. Because if I had stayed 1 more month in that house, I wouldn't be sitting down here. So talk to your family. They should talk to their family, and their family should take that not as a pinch of salt. Because the man will always want to present himself as an angel before the family members. He will always come to give that crying aspect. I am very sorry. But he's just doing it because he wants the family to like say him, okay, no, he's a nice person, but you see he's crying, he's going to change. No, he won't. He won't. So the family should. I am not advocating for separation or for a divorce or something, but in a case of violence, in a case where they should save lives, the man will leave, the woman will leave. Please, it is better for each person to go his own separate ways. It's better. So the children can as well say, okay, I have my mom alive, I have my dad alive.
In a situation where you don't have any family to run to and you're dealing with this kind of case, say after that, in your case, you were your father's only child, but you had other siblings from, what if this person has no family? You're probably the only child, both parents are gone.
Run to the church. You can always talk to somebody in the church. The church should stand for you. Because at one point myself, the church was standing for me. I know one or two priests that I spoke with, and they were like, hey, if anything happens to you, God will hold me responsible. So I am advising that we do this. I am advising that we do this. It's hard. It's a hard road to take, but you have to do it. And sometimes those decisions, they pay.
How would you say this experience, how has it affected your life now that you're looking at it 10 years? This has happened 10 years ago, and now you're pretty much comfortable and you're helping other people deal with things like that. But how has this affected your life?
Wow, the way it has affected my life, let me say, negatively some parts, in the sense that I find it very difficult to, I'm sorry I have to say this, to love, to trust. And then I don't, I am very independent. Very, very independent. It taught me how to be independent.
So I didn't call the phone lines deliberately, and you found a way to call. I got your call late. Maybe you should try, if you call back in the next 2 minutes, you'll meet us here. If you don't, for your doggedness, we will take your call. And yes, I deliberately didn't put out the phone lines. But if you have a story similar to this and you feel like you want to share it and you want to reach out, you can reach out to us. We do have a WhatsApp platform. You could drop a message. We would see it. We could try to get you help with organizations and people that are willing to hold your hand. Whatever form of abuse, whatever form of trauma it is that you're experiencing currently. It's a very crazy world out there, I assure you. And stories like that of, Alison James just tells us that it's just never over until it is. And if you're like me and you easily give up, because I don't think I'd have lasted 18 years. I know myself very well. I'm gonna do something crazy. But this story should encourage you. Hanging there. Your way out is closer than you think. And your tomorrow is more beautiful than your today. Thank you very much. If you have any final words for anyone listening, this is the time.
Okay, I will always advise that one, God is in charge of our lives, and know what you want. Always reach out to your family, to the church, and then build the habit of being an independent person. Because when you have a problem, actually nobody's going to support you. You don't have a backbone, just God. So I kept moving with God on my side. It's now that I will begin to have friends and like, okay, I want to. Else that time, nobody is your friend. Nobody want to be
associated with all of that.
Because they feel you're going to be a burden to them. So just learn to live a world that you're walking alone.
Thank you for all the courage it took to share this story on air. And of course, as we conclude this deeply impactful interview, we extend our gratitude, all of us, Voice of the People, both Abuja and Lagos, trust me, to our guest, Alison James, for sharing her personal journey through the harrowing reality of child marriage and all of its consequences. Your courage, your resilience, they just serve as a powerful reminder of the urgent need to eradicate this harmful practice. Let her story fuel our determination to advocate for change and amplify the voices of those affected. And in the long run, create a world where every child is protected, educated, and free to pursue their dreams. If you see something, please say something. Don't just be quiet about it. And together we can break the chains of child marriage and build a future where girls can thrive, empowering them to rewrite their stories and reshape and shape a more just and equal society. Like I say at the end of every single episode here, if it affects one Nigerian, it affects every single one of us. You might not realize, but the world we live in, we're all connected. Lend your voice and touch a life today. I'm Chinwe Blessing. Thank you very much for staying with us. And like every other episode of every program here on Voice of the People, you can find it on YouTube at Voice of the People 96.1 FM Abuja. Stay tuned. In a bit on In the Streets, we get into the world of magazines. Oh, you thought magazines had left, huh? Very interesting conversation about him. Stay with us.
Are you traveling to Lagos and